Hi guys, Michael Ingledew, and this week I want to talk about decking and fence painting. Now, why do you want to talk about that, Mike? Well, now those of you are getting to know me and know what I'm about and what we're about here at TDW. We're all about how the end user interacts with information, the production process, and how we can deploy and how we can enhance the information that our users get access to. Now, this weekend I have already been given, yes, we're only on Wednesday, I have been given my task already for the weekend, and that includes cleaning the decking and painting the decking. So last weekend we went and bought all of the paint, and when I bought the paint, look what I found. I'm not sure if you can see that. I hope you can see that. Now, on the edge of this decking paint, we're not sponsored by these guys, and there are other paints available, but what these guys have done is they have placed QR codes on the side of all of their products. Now, of course, I then start thinking about, well, normally the demographic that's involved with decking painting and fence painting and all of those things may not necessarily be the same demographic that understand what a QR code is for and how a QR code is used. So they have put a little bit of text on there to say, look, if you're not understanding what a QR code is, go to this website and go and get some information. But those of us that do know what QR codes are means we can direct a user to a specific piece of information on a URL, on a web address. And we've used QR codes on some other products. Now, so this kind of got me thinking, and I'm thinking about this and I'm going, so why have they done this? Well, there's a number of different reasons why you would want to put something like a link or a QR code or something to extra resources. One is that perceived extra value that your end user gets. I'm not just buying a tub of paint anymore. I'm buying access to tips, tricks, tutorials, all those kind of things in terms of being able to use their product successfully. So I feel like it's a product that I can use quite comfortably, certainly for the more of the general demographic that is involved on a day-to-day deck painting task. Now, I hope I'm an exception to that rule, but the reality is that I now feel that I can go and have a look at some of their tutorials, and this can go for any of their paints that we use around the house. So this means we've got a little old English post box out the front of our house that we use instead of a letterbox. Now, when I go and buy the paint, which I'm going to have to go and buy in a couple of weeks, I'm going to look for this brand because I've got that link to tips, tricks and tutorials and all those kind of things. I keep saying trips, it's tricks on accessing and using their products, which makes sense. So from their side of the fence, that goodwill, that good feeling, that extra effort they've put into making these tutorials has paid off. So I'm one of probably 150, 200,000 customers a week that might buy their products. So, and if 10% of those people say, well, we're going to go back and use this product, it's paid for itself. But what do we get as information suppliers? Well, as information suppliers, we can create rich media support for our end users, and we can really engage them in the product, and we can use professional techniques in showing them how to use the brushes on the paint and all of these things that you would like to be able to show someone. But then we can do things that are called subliminal marketing. So I looked through some of their tutorials, and some of their tutorials introduced me to other products that I may not necessarily have heard of. Deck cleaning spray, varnish, finish over the top of the paint, protecting that decking. You know, these kind of things that I went in there with a deck paint in my mind I'm now thinking, well, do I need to buy all these other products? Maybe I need to have this special treatment product first. So that's what they get, as well as they can capture metrics on how many people are actually using their tutorials. So from a TD production perspective, it means that we can see whether the content we're creating is actually capturing and engaging our end users. And that's vital for what we're doing in the TD market. And we're seeing today more and more organizations wanting to put metric capture tools in their data that somehow, some level, and I talk about this in the TD strategy workshop over on our website, is that we need to be sure that the data that we're producing is actually being used and it's actually being accessed by our end users. Otherwise, we're wasting our money, and we should not waste our money when it comes to TD. Now, but this also led me down another thought process, is that video is now becoming the real sort of next generation of engaging our users in terms of product support. So yesterday I was working on Adobe Premiere Pro. Jamie couldn't answer the question. I couldn't answer the question. So we both went to that font of knowledge that's called YouTube. We typed in what we want. We were doing some panning on some illustrations in Premiere Pro, and this probably a 10-year-old kid had done a tutorial that we both sat and went, well, that was pretty easy, and we did that literally within 10-15 minutes, and now we both know how to do it within Premiere Pro. So video is really something that's coming to the forefront of tech data. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that the next time we get on a flight that the first thing we have to do is sit and scan a load of QR codes and then watch a load of safety videos and safety tutorials. But it might happen. It might happen. We can already pre-print our boarding passes, so when we get to the airport, we can just basically go through check-in. Now, what's stopping us from placing on that boarding pass a load of QR codes that we force our users to go off and watch some safety or in-flight entertainment or pre-flight information before they get there, and we capture that they've actually looked at it, and at check-in we can see whether they've looked at it or not, and we can send reminders and those. So that's just kind of blue sky thinking. Maybe that's where we could go. Now, of course, if I'm working on a tracked vehicle in the middle of the Ulu that's covered in mud and oil, QR codes are pretty useless. We don't want to have to sit there washing off QR codes so we can click on them and go off and do things. But maybe there's a handbook of QR codes in the cockpit. I don't know. Maybe that's somewhere we can go, which drives people to an app or drives people to a piece of information. Video is engaging, it's easy to watch, and you can absorb the information much, much quicker than you can if I'm sat having to read a PDF or read a user guide that might be included in here, which I'd probably ignore anyway. Go off and try and use the paint, because it's only paint, right? But now I've watched the tutorial, there's a whole raft of things I should be doing before I even open this tin. So the reality is that I think that the way that we communicate with our end users and we give information to our end users is changing and will continue to change. And I love the way that these particular guys have put on their website tutorials. I understand the end user benefit, and I understand what the business gets from that in terms of capturing your and my details and capturing or product placement in front of us, so we are then driven to other products. But there you go. So I just wanted to do that short little, the stuff that I found walking around my local DIY store, and trying to add some thought to that on how I think we can apply that to the wider tech data community and where tech data is going to go in the future. And I believe as the world becomes more and more connected, and we are almost always at some point connected to the internet, this is where the Internet of Things is going to come in. This is where we're always going to have that connection. We're going to, second nature, going to be looking at things like QR codes or links to online tutorials, which is then going to put other products in front of us, which is going to help drive revenues for business. But it helps me as a consumer really get the most out of this product and feel like I'm a valued customer, as opposed to just buying a cheap tin of local DIY store paint that they assume you know what you're doing. They assume that you know that you can go out and just paint, where this is much more enriched, deep value add. Hope you found that useful. I know I'm a little bit of a nerd when I come to this stuff. In fact, I was at an old military show a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up a 1942's illustrated parts catalogue, which I'm going to use for a future tutorial. So the nerdness is going to keep coming. I'm Michael Ingledew. Go on over to our website and create your free account where you can access some free resources from some of our member companies that put on white papers and links to resources and tutorials that they might have, as well as free resources that we make available. You can go over there and take a look at that. Hope you found this useful. If you like it, please share it amongst all of your TD professionals. Give us a like. I know a lot of people can't access YouTube. We are looking at alternative ways of getting these tutorials and these videos in front of our end users, and we are looking at, I don't have the magazine with me, a printed CD-ROM that will go on the front of the quarterly magazine, which will contain all of our videos. So you can look at that. We have a few tutorials coming up this week in time for the next issue of the magazine, which is coming out at the end of the month. Lots of great tutorials. Bring out your dead, looking at data obsolescence and technology obsolescence. We've got our friends doing some illustration type tutorials for the magazine. So you can subscribe to the magazine by going over to our website or sending in an email to us, and we'll tell you how you can get hold of it. Hope you found it useful. I'm going to go and do some more video watching. Cheers, guys.